Welcome to Hebrew Cursive. We're going to be using the Hebrew primer and we'll be going lesson by lesson through that book. In our first lesson, we're going to do bet and vet. Vet and bet have the same basic form. It's transliterated with a V, vet. You start and you go up and around, and then you come back down. So it looks to me like a dinosaur head. Bet is drawn the exact same way. The difference is it has a dot in the middle. Okay, the dot is called a doggish. The doggish makes the sound hard. So without the doggish, it's v, very soft. But with the doggish, it's b, bet. Then we have our first vowel. It's sere. Sere is an sound, and we transliterate it with an e. So you can say ve or be when you put the vowels underneath the letters, because Hebrew basically doesn't really have vowels as letters. They're just pictures underneath the letter. Lesson 2, we have resh and dalet. Resh looks in cursive just exactly like it looks in block. Just go down and around. Resh. Dalet. Dalet is interesting. It looks sort of like a screw. You go up and around and down. Dalet. The new vowels that we have are kamats, which we pronounce ah and is transliterated as an A, and patak, ah, also transliterated as A. They look different. The kamats is a long vowel and a patak is a short vowel, which you use in some of the different rules that we'll be learning. So in lesson 3, we have sheen and seen. They're both the same letter, just a little different. It's made sort of like an E. The sheen has a dot on the upper right-hand side. The seen has a dot on the upper left-hand side. Sheen is sh, sh. Seen is like at the end of the word, girls. And we have the same vowels, kamats, a, patak, a, and sere, e. Lesson 4, tav and lamed. Tav is transliterated as a T, and it also looks almost exactly like the block. You start by making a resh, and then you make sort of a fish hook on the back. Lamed is a little bit different. It's interesting. You start kind of in the middle of the line. You go down. It's very pretty. Up and over. Lamed. We still have the same vowels, kamats, patak, and sere. In lesson 5, we have mem and mem sofit. Mem is m, the letter M, and it starts on the right-hand side. You go down, up, down. It sort of looks like an N, but you kind of do it backwards to where we would normally do our N's. It's very pretty. I like it. Then a mem sofit. Now, sofit is what is at the end of a word. So mem would be in the middle of the word, but a mem sofit would be when you have an M at the end of the word. And it kind of looks like a cursive A. Now we have 2 new vowels. One is a holam, which is an O sound, and shureg, which is a U sound. As you can tell, most of the names for the vowels have what it sounds like in the name of the vowel. Holam Shurig, shurig. So this is an O sound. This is a U sound. In lesson 7, we have the Yud, the Vav, and the Nun Sofit. Yud is transliterated as a Y, but sometimes it's not even sounded. It's just very, very short, usually above any of the letters. Then we have Vav. Vav is just a straight line. And then we have Nun Sofit. Nun Sofit, because it's Sofit, it does go below the line. Notice that they're all just little straight lines. So they kind of look the same sometimes, but this Yud is very, very short. Vav is like an I, and Nun Sofit goes below the line. So in lesson 8, we have two letters that do not really have a sound of their own. They take on the sound of whatever vowel is underneath them. The first one is Ayin, goes down, over, around, and up. And the second one is Aleph. It's a little more difficult to draw. It's a straight line, and then a C. Sometimes the C is attached. Sometimes you'll see just a little tiny space in between. Then we have what's called a shva. Now the shva is sort of like a syllable divider. Sometimes it's not sounded at all, and sometimes it does make the sound of I. So it's not really considered a vowel. Lesson 9, we have Nun and Gimel. As you've noticed by now, the first letter of the vowel is usually the letter that you use as a transliteration. And the Nun just goes down. It's sort of like a J. The Gimel is, I kind of picture it like a cup. It goes down and then it has sort of a cup basin where you're going to catch something. And then the vowels, no new vowels. We just still have the kamatz, the patak, the seri, the holam, and the shurg. In lesson 10, we have two letters, hey and chet. Hey looks very similar to its block. You have a cursive on the outside and a cursive on the inside. Chet looks exactly like the block. You start with the resh, but instead of going curved down with a hook on it like the tav, we go straight down. Chet. Then we also have a new vowel, a sagol. The sagol is 3 dots. It still has an eh sound. So just like the ah sound where you had a long sound and a short one, the sagol is the short and the sere is the long. They're both transliterated as E. In lesson 11, we have another dogish. We have a kaf, which has a dogish in the middle. It looks just like the block. Go around, and it has the dot or the dogish in the middle. It is a K sound. It's the hard sound because it has the dogish. Then you have the haf. It really is more of an H in the throat. And it doesn't have a dogish, of course, because it's more of a softer sound. Then we have the haf sofit. The haf sofit is a sofit. Most sofits do go below the line. Now, with a haf sofit, you will see a shava inside the letter, which would be something like derek. It has a at the end, or you'll see a kamatz, which will be like l'cha. So it has 2 sounds depending on what the vowels are inside here. In lesson 12, we have another vowel. It's really just one vowel, but it's written 2 ways. It's called a hirig, and we transliterate it with the I, and it sounds like the E. Then we have a hirig yud, which still has the dot underneath it, but it also has a yud. It's the same thing. Sometimes you'll see it written one way and sometimes you'll see it written another. So I gave you some examples at the bottom there. The first one is E-T. So here you see the Hierig and here's the Hierig Yud. It's still T. Sheer, Hierig. Aviv. So here you have the Hierig Yud. Lesson 13 has another letter with the doggish. Pay. Pay is really a hard one to draw with the doggish in the middle because it curls around there. But it's the hard sound. And then fe, without the doggish, is the soft sound. We also have another vowel, kubutz. Kubutz, ooh sound, and is transliterated with the U. In lesson 14, we have the tet and the kuf. So tet doesn't really look like it, but it's sort of like that. It's a nice letter. T sound. Kuf. Kuf, sometimes you'll see it a little bit below, and it's not really attached, but it does kind of look exactly like the block letter, and it's a K sound. Kuf. And of course, we have the same vowels that we've had before, no new vowels. So lesson 15, we're almost to the alphabet. We're on Zayin. Zayin starts with a Z. We transliterate it with a Z, and it's pronounced like a Z. So almost backward, Gimel goes down and then around. Then we have Sadi. Sadi is a TS sound, sort of like pizza, Sadi, and it looks like a 3. Around. Around. Then we have Sadi Sofit. Sadi Sofit is a little tricky to do. It's very pretty. You start like you do with the Lamed. You go down and up and around just like Lamed, but now you're going to go up. So it's like a really fancy cursive L or a fancy Lamed. So here we are, we've made it to the last lesson. We have 2 more letters. Those letters are Samic, starts with an S, sounds like an S, and it looks just like its block. This looks like a 0. Face of feet. I guess I leave this one to the last because it's probably the most complicated. You see this written in several different ways, but the way I've learned it, and you see it a lot, is here again, it's like the Lamed, and it's like the Sadi Sofit. You go down, up, you make your Lamed, then you come around like you're going to make your Sadi Sofit, but instead of going up, you're going to come back down. So it's like very fancy. So F-A for fancy, that's how I remember it. And so there we are. We have all of our vowels, kamatz, batak, sere, holam, shurig, sagol, hirig, and kubutz. And we've had all our lessons. So I hope you've learned. If not, you can go back and do this video several times. Thank you for listening. Bye.